This famous story is from the Gospel of Mark. As Jesus taught, he said, "Beware of the scribes who like to walk around in long robes and to be greeted with respect in the marketplaces, and to have the best seats in the synagogues and places of honor at banquets. They devour widows' houses, and for the sake of appearance say long prayers. They will receive the greater condemnation." Jesus sat down opposite the treasury and watched the crowd putting money into the treasury. Many rich people put in large sums. A poor widow came and put in 2 small copper coins, which are worth a penny. Then he called his disciples and said to them, "Truly I tell you, this poor widow has put in more than all those who are contributing to the treasury. For all of them have contributed out of their abundance, but she, out of her poverty, has put in everything she had, all she had to live on." This is a story of our faith. Struggling. You seem to be struggling. There have been stretches where this observation of my wife was all too accurate. Struggling for days, maybe even weeks. And if I had the energy, I might have cited multiple reasons in an obvious defense. Well, I'm not alone. A recent study by StatsCan shows the rate of respondents self-reporting symptoms of depression, anxiety, or PTSD has increased to 1 in 5 from the fall last year to 1 in 4 in just 3 months. The percentage of university and vocational students also are reporting much higher levels of distress. Or I could say, then our family, our son, where drug addiction has long been a part of his life. The BC coroner says that in 2020, that was the deadliest year ever for drug overdose. Last year, there were almost 5 deaths a day due to illicit drug use. And the number is increasing dramatically month to month this year due to a contaminated drug supply. So his life is at risk. And perhaps at some level I am storing grief, for we have lost several dear friends during the last 18 months, and it does not feel that we have properly mourned or celebrated their lives. Not to mention the scenes highlighted in the news: global warming, reconciliation with First Nations, sexual abuse, the general climate of uncertainty and dislocation. Some of you have parents, children, families, friends. The challenges of life add up. You seem to be struggling. And so I wondered, beyond all the contributing factors, at a deeper level, what does it mean to struggle? For me, many familiar components appear. The need, again, for greater attention to diet and exercise, and a renewed commitment to engage in more in-depth reflection and more. There's lots of things I should be doing better. But when I put all the things together and distilled them out into a very potent brew, I came to what might be called the realization that I was in need of a strengthening of the soul. "Oh my God, my soul is cast down within me," says the psalmist. A struggle of the soul. So I said to God, "So what's up with this?" And perhaps as God's humorous response to my request to contribute at least 2 cents to the conversation, the story of the widow and her 2 coins came into view. A poor widow came and put in 2 small copper coins, which are worth a penny. First, The woman came in the state she was in, a poor widow. There she was. Maybe she was young. Maybe she had children. We don't know. But the characteristic to which Jesus drew attention was her poverty. The widow did not wait until she got her act together, until she won the big one, until she could contribute out of abundance and confidence. She gave out of that with which she struggled. And Jesus honored that. Not simply accepted, but honored. Shame was not present. There was no sense of inadequacy or moral failure, no subtext implying, the widow would have been better, could have contributed more if only. As I age, I appreciate more deeply that old gospel hymn, just as I am, without one plea. Whatever the weight, the uncertainty, the wondering, the struggle, Jesus seems impressed enough to call the attention of his followers to the woman. Truly, I tell you, this poor widow has put in more. Now, at the time of Jesus, giving to the treasury really meant supporting the religious community, as it was. For those of you who may follow such things, studies by the Boston Consulting Group on factors that contribute to vibrant workplaces reinforce what many of us have learned about workplaces and families and congregations, where there is the emotional, physical, and spiritual space for people to share their struggles and triumphs in more than an artificial or defensive way. Teams, families, congregations grow stronger. Authenticity and vulnerability nourish relationships, strengthen the soul. So we cannot be afraid to reach into the depth of our spiritual purses and offer joy, sorrow, struggle. For Jesus, God, will honor it with no word of judgment, no sense of, is this it? Is this how you parent? Is this how you love your parents? Is this what kind of a wife or a husband or partner you are? She, out of her poverty, has put in everything she had. Out of the poverty of the soul, we offer what we have. And it is better than enough, more than okay. The second piece of good news that emerges from engaging this story hovers around the spiritual practices of focus and intentionality. Now, focus and intentionality are often complex spiritual disciplines for those used to being among the wealthy and the privileged. When there is more than enough, the hard work of prioritizing carries no urgency. When we are young, the field before us feels vast. After winning the lottery or buying another pair of shoes, spirits overflow and we can afford to be generous. Back in the day, I remember being involved in many social justice coalitions that were trying to do all kinds of beautiful things. And it was often the case that the United Church of Canada contributed 80 to 100% of the budget of those coalitions. We were rich and powerful, and we could be beneficent and often lax in our requests for accountability. Many congregations just a few years ago grew with an implicit image of a department store model as their governing image. We have something for everyone. And if we don't, we will strike a committee or a working group. Small congregations envied those like First or Metropolitan or Oak Bay who had so much going on. Such congregations could offer space and infrastructure and volunteer and staff time. The rich walk around in long robes and are greeted with respect in the marketplaces and have the best seats in the synagogues and places of honor at banquets. But now we are not so rich in finances, personnel, or volunteer time, and we are finding the need and the call to focus and to be more intentional difficult. Personally, I understand the lag in accepting a new reality. As I have grown older, I cannot do as much as I could a few decades ago. I no longer have energy to be frantic, to run around as much, to say yes to all requests, to open jars with stuck lids, or be ready for passionate love at the drop of a hat. Being retired, I now have the luxury of asking not only if I can do something, but whether my agreement or assumption of responsibility will really be good for me and my relationships. Will something strengthen my soul, provide traction to my whole life, or distract me from a more profound life? The decisions now emerging are not just about capacity, but about wholeness, fullness, depth. In spiritual language, the challenges are not just management questions. How can I fit this in and secure resources? But do I leave room for God? So the challenge for us is simply to do less and be more. The poor widow chose to offer her 2 coins. I do not know for sure, but I would think that that could not have been an easy or an automatic decision. Jesus turns and, after watching the woman put in her 2 coins, a penny, says to his friends, "Truly I tell you, this poor woman has put in more than all those who are contributing to the treasury. For all of them have contributed out of their abundance, but she, out of her poverty, has put in everything she had, all she had." I've always been impressed by the Quakers, though their practice would not suit me personally. But as a group, their focus has steadfastly been on matters of peace and prison ministry. They do not discount other good causes, but have been called to, let's say, to focus. Ironically, the challenge before us is in step with a growing awareness in much of the larger society. For being constantly available does not necessarily increase productivity or service. Technological access does not guarantee good communication, and indeed good relationships. Throwing more resources at a situation does not guarantee a good outcome. This we are learning. Do less, be more. Choose what brings life and where your 2 cents make a difference. And like many spiritual challenges, it's not really an easy question. So as individuals and as a congregation, we bring what we have. Decide upon the 2 coins we can offer. God is not afraid of our struggle, the dents and the scrapes of our lives, past or present. As we go stronger in faith, we will continue to do the hard work of authenticity and determining capacity, what is in our pilgrim purse. Authenticity and capacity. If we do the task and make the offering, it will be enough. And in the hands of Jesus, such may be more than enough. At least that's the good news that came to one who can struggle and whose soul often seeks greater strength, peace, and wisdom. Such is the good news. Amen.